thank you for this new day. We went to bed last night. We never knew what we were doing. But you made us have rest, and this morning woke us up to come and start this, our special convention, the 18th convention, the convention of maturity. Heavenly Father, we don't have anything to quarrel about.
Yes.
Because we are just doing this for our alma mater, Seka Baptist College, Limbe.
Yes.
We want that the children who go there, our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, any child who goes to Seka Baptist College should have a better life than the one we had there. Yes. Oh, Father, open our hearts, touch us, and make us be giving. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, we have prayed. Amen.
Show me the way to love you, oh Lord. From my 90s, as I offer myself to you, as a living sacrifice. Sing. I'd like to call at this time on Ms. Kalesh Bongo so that she can introduce our guest speaker. Please put your hands together for her as she comes up. EXSSA, love, unity, and sisterhood. EXSSA, love, unity, and sisterhood.
I am honored to be in your midst, and I have joy in my heart to introduce our speaker. Dr. Joe McGlone is a native Texan, born in Beaumont in the Port Arthur area. He had a degree in business and engineering from Lamar University in the same Port Arthur area. He then continued to the Texas School of Chiropractic, where he had a doctorate in chiropractic. He is a 5-time Who is Who winner of the Rotary International. So right now, ladies, I have the honor to present to you Dr. McGraw, whom I'm honored to call a mentor and a friend.
Wow, we should wait for whoever's coming. Y'all are y'all look great.
Thank you.
First we need to do a little bit of translation. How many of you live around Houston or from Texas?
Texas.
Okay. First, we need some terminology.
Yes.
Okay. y'all. It's a collective term. It means you and whoever else is with you. Okay? Howdy. Howdy is a welcoming term. It's hello, but it's more than that. It's gosh, we're glad to see you. So I want you, in fact, have any of you ever heard of Charles Tremendous Jones? He was a motivational speaker. And something that he used to teach is two things are going to make a difference in your life. The people that you meet and the books that you read. I want you to turn around and speak to somebody that you haven't seen in a while and tell them how. Part of what I said, people that you meet and the books that you read. I want you to take your notepads. I'm going to just run through quickly some books. And by the way, in preparing for this, I was reading about Cameroon. You have some good and some bad. Yes. I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. You have. As a matter of fact, I was reading a list of, it was called Transparencies in Government. For some reason, the United States can only come up about 16 out of 157. I wasn't too proud of that. I don't particularly do things that I'm ashamed of. On the other hand, Cameroon was 153. I don't need to say anything else, do I? But, you know the bright, shining part of that? Cameroon was listed as the most literate country in Africa. It means that regardless of all of this other crap that's going on, they can't win. Innocence once lost can never be regained. You know, once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put it back in. And y'all are the mamas. Oh, yeah. You know, as a matter of fact, my daughter, who in fact leads Orange, she graduated from the University of Texas. Teaches 5th graders. Takes them to jury art shows and wins. And we were talking one day about where she was going to be teaching. She was going to be teaching in a school district that was largely black and Hispanic. And I asked her, I said, Mindy, do you realize what you're getting into down there? She says, Dad, she says, don't worry about it. She said, I used to be in a latchkey program in Austin when I was going to school. She said, if they give me any trouble, I just tell them I'm going to tell her mama. So we know who controls things. Yeah, mama. Okay. I want to give you some history of Texas so that you understand what we've been through. Texas used to be Mexico. Yes. The Mexican government, as a matter of fact, sent a cannon to a little place called Goliad outside of San Antonio. And they said, when those Texicans come, y'all help defend Goliath. Well, they realized what was happening. Santa Anna and his folks came up, and they rounded up all the men around Goliath because they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And they killed, not all of them, they killed every 10th man. Why would they do that? Because they wanted to spread fear. They wanted those other 9 to say, guys, y'all need to sit down. They came back later with a letter and they said, oh, by the way, we want our cannon back. A flag that has a cannon on it, a star over it, and what does it say? Come and take it. That's Texas. Go to downtown. There's Minute Maid Park there. You know, our world champion Astros play there. Beautiful place. Get in your car. Oh, and go to the ship channel. They actually have a boat ride there where they do a tour. You know, we have freight from all over the world coming to the Port of Houston. But get in your car, go down to Pasadena Freeway, and drive parallel to that ship channel and see all of the industry that's down there. When you get about halfway, and you can't miss it, there's an, if I pronounce it correctly, an obelisk. Oh, yeah. A monument. It happens only to be 30 feet taller than the Washington line. Not that we're an arrogant bunch, but you know, we know how things are supposed to be done. Go all the way around through Baytown and come out on I-10. When you do that, you'll come into the largest petroleum production facility in the world. It's an Exxon facility. Now, my dad worked for Gulf and later Chevron, and he made production. I've never even imagined anything like it. This facility is about 10 stories tall. At any rate, he brokered deals that brought 1/3 of the landmass of the United States into the Union, and it first came into Texas. I'm going to have to shut up. I wore my little red cap today. It's not a MAGA hat. If you look closely, it says producers. It's from Producer Co-op. That's what I want y'all to become. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McGlon, for that wonderful welcome. Next up, we have an official welcome from host presidents, Auntie Jackie Atam.
And we welcome you to our great state, and we singularly welcome you to Houston.
Yes.
This big city, the Bayou City, it is where the clock ticks. 24/7. That's where astronauts that went to the moon the first time started off from the Space Center. I know when you guys came in 2010, those that were here in 2010 went to visit the Space Center. So we didn't want to repeat that. It's like, it's now a non-event. So we're so happy to have you guys here for this historic convention. The convention of maturity. Yes. We have come of age. Yes. It has not always been smooth sailing, but we have stayed the course. Yes. We thank you all for making the sacrifice to come all the way to Texas. We especially welcome Auntie Plenty, the keynote speaker. We know you're the one that started this whole thing. So the tree you planted and watered spread its branches all the way to the United States of America. We know we are present in Canada, Europe, South Africa, Nigeria, you name it. So we thank you for that vision that you had, the idea that you promoted, and what it has grown to become. We also welcome Ms. Sisako Tamko. Welcome to Texas. We welcome the other sacred. Some came from Europe and Canada, Nigeria. So we thank you all for coming. We are honored that we are 18 years old and growing strong. We promise you a good time. Yes. We are going for the boat ride. We're going to have fun. And tomorrow night we're going to dance the Makusa till day dawn. So thank you all. I won't say much. Much will be said as the days roll by. Again, thank you and welcome to Texas.
Thank you, Auntie Jackie. So before I call our national president to officially open the convention, we were supposed to have Mayor Sylvester Turner here with us this morning to give that address, but unfortunately he could not be here. But he sends us his best wishes, and he has a special message, an official message that he sent to us. So I'd like to call on Dr. J to just read that message real quick before we open the convention officially. Dr. J.
You know, the mayor not being here really fits into our African cultural fabric, because there is someone here representing the city of Houston who has actually given us a little pre-presentation before the mayor's letter. So everything is in order. And this is from Mayor Sylvester Turner, July 25th, 2019. Greetings. As mayor of the city of Houston, I welcome all attending the EXSSA Students Association, EXSSA USA, 18th Annual Convention. EXSSA USA is a non-profit alumni association of Seka Baptist College in Limbe, Cameroon, comprised of 10 chapters across the continental United States. Its mission is to educate, empower, and uplift women and young girls through programs and community service. EXSSA USA fosters enriching learning and networking experiences to inspire unity and sisterhood amongst their members worldwide. Houston has so much to offer, and I hope you will share in the Houston experience as you sample our world-class restaurants, tour our appealing museums, and civic and cultural landmarks, taking with you lasting impressions of the spirit, vitality, and tradition that characterize our city. Best wishes for a rewarding convention. Sylvester Turner, Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. J. EXSSA,
Love, unity, and sister.
are you ready for convention?
Yes.
Are you ready for convention? Please put your hands together for our national president.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's an honor to stand here to address everybody. Listen, thank you. Auntie Jackie, thank you. All the members of Houston chapter, thank you. Dr. Joe McClung, it is a privilege and honor to have you here with us. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us and to welcome us into your beautiful city. After that narrative about Houston, we gladly accept the virtual key as a symbol of welcome here. To all present, on behalf of EXSSA USA National Executive Council, we would like to welcome you to the Convention of Maturity. Please, let us give a round of applause to our hosting chapter. We would like to immensely thank you. We would like to immensely thank the Houston chapter under the leadership of our Auntie Jackie. As most of you may know, they have a rich package in store for us. Unofficially, some of us already did our exercise yesterday. This was not official. We will not give more the name of it, but those who attended know what I'm talking about. Yes. My dear aunties and sisters, we have come a long way. Having traveled to different cities after our initial formation in Dallas. We've been to Chicago, we've been to DC, we've traveled almost all the chapters. You've got to agree with me that there's something special about Texas. From Houston, Texas, when we had the first convention back in 2002, EXSSA USA has come full circle at the age of 18. Yes. In the past 18 years, despite the turbulent path, we continue to progress. Our membership has grown. We are more than 250. There's been a lot of improvement. The list goes on. And our goal is that we will continue to grow. And as we grow, we should be mindful of growing pains. Let us keep an open mind to embrace them. Yes. Throughout our growth, throughout our growing chart, we've been accompanied by aunties and sisters. They've been there for us. Today will be no different. They are here to witness what we've done. Please, let us give a shout out and honor and recognize the different badges that are here present with us. Let's start with the cities, with our pioneer president, Auntie Jackie. So we'll move over to the 70s. Please, all the 70s in the house. The 60s. All the 60s. Just for clarity, we were doing them by the decades. So we've done the 60s, we're moving on to the 70s. All the 70s. and positively more. My dear aunties and sisters, on behalf of EXSSA National Executive Council, the hosting chapter, I now declare the Convention of Maturity officially open.
co-chairs and committee members will be around and I can introduce them to you. So several years back in Georgia, we had a meeting and we talked about, you know, we come together during conventions, we have Impact Day, we're serving the communities, we're serving other people, we're raising funds, we're building SECA up, we're helping orphans. But what do we do for ourselves? Because we're not excluded from the problems that exist in the world, are we? No. Okay, so we started with a table talk. We started the table talks, we talked about domestic violence, and evolved through different topics, and we felt like we needed to take it up a notch. And that is how PBDC was born last year in Atlanta, right? And now, if you were at the birth of PBDC, raise your hand, let me see you. Did you like it? Yes. Did you gain something out of it? Yes. And we hope you will do the same this year.
Yes.
In the spirit of maturity, we hope to grow every year and do bigger and better things. Thankfully, we're in Texas, where everything is bigger and better, right?
Yes. Right.
So last year we had a theme. Every year we hope to come up with new themes. Who remembers the theme from last year? We have prizes that you can win. And as I'm talking, Besson is giving out raffle tickets where you're going to be entered into a drawing to win a Kindle, 32 gigabytes. So the more answers you provide, the more chances you have to win something, right? So who remembers the theme from last year?
Networking.
Yeah, it was bottom line networking. Thank you, Auntie. The reason we started with networking was because we felt like we have the talents, we have the skills, we have the numbers, but what do we do with it? Maybe nothing, right? So we decided to bring speakers who would talk to us about the importance of networking, connecting with people around you. What does it do for you to pay to go to seminars and meet people whom you could just turn around you and talk to them and get the same information? So hopefully the networking went well. Some of you developed relationships from that event and you're maintaining it. We did that, and then afterwards we put out a survey. We wanted to hear from you guys what you would like to know next, right, from PPDC. And most of you said you wanted to know how to grow your money, right? We have amongst us stay-at-home moms. They don't work, right? The husband brings the money in, and you know, sometimes you take a little $100, you hide it, and you want to grow that too, right? So you may not tell your husband, but when he needs it, you can say, you know, honey, I stashed some $200, but now it's $5,000. Yeah. Do you think he'll be mad at you for stashing away $200? Absolutely not. You'll be happy, right? So we decided to make that the theme for this year, just learning how to make your money grow, no matter the source of your income. If you have a business, you still want your business to grow. If you're a regular professional, you know, paycheck to paycheck, you want to make that money grow because we're not going to stay strong and young forever. There's retirement coming. Some of us will live long. My family lives really long, so I want to make sure that I have money to take care of me, and maybe you have some to leave for my kids when I depart, right? So that's why we came up with that thing. Now, before I move on, who wants to tell me what PPDC really means?
Personal and Professional Development Committee.
Good job. And so what's your name?
Marie Pendy from DC. We are divas.
So let's make sure the divas don't take all the prizes. We keep our eyes on dollars as well.
Yeah. Please do the pictures.
Do you have one of these?
Yes.
Okay. You see, there's a pen inside. It's for you to take notes because we're getting into serious business, right? Let me introduce my co-partners. It's a committee. It's teamwork. We put in the time and we get the job done as a team. I'm going to start with Charlene Assam. Please give it up for Charlene. She's done a marvelous job. She's right here. Charlene joined us this year. She's class of 2012. And we hope she's going to take this and run with it. I'm getting old. It's time for me to quit. So Charlene, you want to tell them a little bit about yourself while we're waiting on TV to show up?
Alright, good morning everybody. So my name is Charlene Assam and I'm one of the members of the class of 2012. My mom was a plucky, of course, class of 97. Oh, class of 77. Oh my god, never. Class of 77, she was a plucky. I went to SECA 7 years. I was education prefect. I'm currently a certified public accountant in New York State, and I have a YouTube channel which is catered to the lives of young professionals to inspire intentional choices. I currently live in Brooklyn, in New York City, and I work for PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Did you get that resume? So there's a reason why she's part of this committee. There's a lot we can learn from her, right? Next up, Matilda Chair.
She's just going down, let's go.
Okay, so she's going to introduce herself. I don't know if I need to introduce myself, but I can do that at a later time. I would like for you to, if you haven't already, with respect to time and the fact that we're always late to events, we printed out the biography for our speakers so you could take a look at it. We're going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and tell you a little more, but it saves time if you already know something, right? So we have Matilda Chair. Can you come up and introduce yourself? She's also a committee member. And while Matilda is coming here, I want you to know we have Amabel Niba. She couldn't be here this year, but she put in the same work and time as a team. So, Tilly, you're going to introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm Tilly, best known as Polly Polly. But certainly a welcome to everybody in here. I'm a diva. But it's wonderful to have you guys here. Certainly we're hoping that this is going to be a very productive morning, full of information. Get your notebooks out. It's going to be hyped. You're going to see great things. You're going to learn a lot. But I promise you, after this event, you're not going to be the same again, okay? So please call your roommates. They need to get down here real quick. Thank you.
Thank you, Tilly. Okay. Our first speaker is going to be Nancy Butler. You can tell she's already set up, she's ready. This is going to be a life-changing moment for you. You're going to learn how to make your money grow, and you're going to actually practically see how you can make your money grow through our speakers. I'm not going to say much about Nancy. I'm going to let her do that, but I know her life sprung from $2,000 to $200 million. Okay? So let's give it up for Nancy, please.
Good morning, everybody. I have so much to talk to you about. Also, I have a table set out outside, so feel free afterwards to come and talk to me all you'd like. Instead of just talking to you about my background, I'll get right into it because we do have some slides on that. I had a very unique background. Maybe not so unique in that what you've heard, but I don't know a lot of people that have gone through the things the way that I've gone through them. So basically what happened was, in the middle of a divorce, I took my children, I moved 70 miles, I had no alimony, no child support, no other source of income. I had $2,000 to my name, and believe it or not, I decided to start my own asset management and financial planning practice. And the reason I decided to start it was mainly because I knew absolutely nothing about it. I never owned a mutual fund, I never owned a stock, I didn't have anything more than a savings account. But I figured if their father was not going to be helping support them, I better learn how to manage money so I can raise these children. I was able to build the business from 2,000 to 200 million in assets under management, and then 12 years ago I sold the practice. For the last 12 years I coach businesses all over the country. Last year and this year I was appointed a delegate to the United Nations for the Commission on the Status of Women. So I worked with over 10,000 women from all over the world in helping people, and I'm going to talk today a little bit about the journey, and then if you're looking to start a business, some of the things you need to be thinking about and how to get you there. And think about what I said a minute ago. I had $2,000. So how do you start a business, business cards, office, marketing, getting clients? I had to get licensed. In order to be a financial advisor, you have to have 8 state licenses and a federal securities license, and you have to pay for all of that. So even to just get yourself set up in business, there's costs for that. When I was married in the beginning, we made very little money. In fact, I didn't work at all, and he made $87 a week. I don't know if you remember, I mean, this was way back, so. But there weren't any computers, there weren't any 800 numbers, and I used to have a little red clicker, I remember, that I brought to the grocery store, and every time I put something in the basket, I'd have to click what it cost. because I knew exactly how much money I had when I got to that register. And if it cost a dime more than that, I'd have to put something back. So I had to make sure that I kept track of everything. So we had very little money. And what that did, though, was it got me to learn how to be very resourceful. So one of the first things I asked for when I was first married was a sewing machine so that I could make all of our clothes. So I made the kids' pajamas, bathing suits, I made my husband's sports jacket and tie. I learned how to do all that because for 50-cent remnant at the store, I could make my daughter a dress. Actually, what I would do is I would make her a dress, and then when the dress got too short, I would make a skirt because the dress could become a blouse. So it's all about finding ways to make it work. This is my first child. I had my first child at the age of 16, which means that with everything I just told you, I didn't graduate high school. So afterwards, I went back, got my high school diploma, and I knew I was going to be needing to help put my kids through college, so I actually put myself through school while I was raising my children as a single parent, while I was building my business. Just told you that I learned how to sew, and then I learned how to bake from scratch. I found out that cake mixes and all of that cost money, and if I bought the eggs and flour instead and did it right from scratch, I could make it last a whole lot longer. I could spread it a lot longer. So I really learned how to make things from scratch. Had my second child 7 years later. My second child is sitting in the front over there right now. She actually lives in Houston. I live in Connecticut, so I came here to speak to you, and I'll spend time with her and her husband this weekend. But that's her when she was like 2 years old. And we used to call her Crazy Baby because she was into everything. I mean, she had stitches in her face 3 times in 3 months because she was always into everything. But you have to learn how to manage all of this. Some of life's challenges. When my older daughter was 7 years old, she came down with a rare bone disease and couldn't walk for many years. She had braces on her legs. My husband made $87 a week. We had to move. She wouldn't fit in our car. We had to get a new car. She had braces that held her legs open. We had to move and have a bathroom built around her so she could fit in the bathroom. We had to get her a special cart so she could go to school. I mean, things happen. And I've always said, you can have 100 people in the room, they can all have exactly the same problem, and some people are going to come out on top and be stronger because of it, and other people are going to fall apart and have a nervous breakdown. And you get to decide which side of that fence you fall on. And if you've got a family and you've got others relying on you, I've always said, I don't have the right to be selfish. I have to be strong. I can't do anything else. I don't have the right. Then my husband and I worked for the same company, and the company was sold. Our apartment came with the job. So we had 30 days for 2 of us to find new jobs and a place to live, with my oldest daughter with braces on her legs and with Crazy Baby running around. So it wasn't easy, but you have to make it work. We did find another job. We did move. We built our first house. And then 6 months after we moved in, the house burst into flames. They had built it wrong. Did you ever wonder, if you ever had a fire, what would be the first thing you'd grab?
My certificates. My certificates.
You might be able to get copies of those. What could you not replace? Well, it's interesting. Let me tell you what the family grabbed. So this one grabbed a doll that I had handmade for her and the clothes and ran out of the house. We lived like up on the top of the hill, and I said, go down the hill, out in the street, I want you away from the house. The older daughter was a teenager. She grabbed a bottle of shampoo and a blow dryer. She ran out of the house. My husband and I didn't leave. I mean, my grandmother had come here from Russia, and there were some things that you just couldn't replace, and I said, I'm saving this stuff, and we stayed and we stayed. After it was all done, we were fine, and I said to my oldest daughter, what were you thinking? And she said, all I can think of is no matter what happens to this house, you're gonna make me go to school tomorrow, and I'm not going if I can't do my hair. It's funny what you learn in an emergency. Yeah. So after 15 years of marriage, I was divorced. I had never been on my own a day in my life because I got married at the age of 15. So I went from being with my parents to being married, and now I was going to all of a sudden be a single parent with 2 children to support on my own with no outside income whatsoever. How do I support myself? How do I raise my children and support myself at the same time? Who moves out of the house? Does he move out and I stay, or do I move out and he stays? Who's going to have the children? And if I take the children, where do we live? Do we live where we're living currently, which was 70 miles away from any family or friends I knew, or do I move back? So ended up, I did get the children, I did move back. If I had not gotten the children, I wouldn't be here today. Because I had already decided, with the marriage being a failure, couldn't keep a husband, didn't know who the heck I was, there was no reason for me to be on this earth. And I had already figured out how I was going to make sure I wasn't. And then I got my kids. And because I got my kids, I said, I don't have the right to be selfish. You know, I just moved them 70 miles from their father and their friends and their home, and they can't not have a mother too. So if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I'm still here. Thank you, baby. Had to decide to take control and be strong. And as I said, you get to decide which side of that fence you fall on. Do you become stronger because of everything that you've gone through, or do you let it tear you down? So then it was, well, how am I going to do all this? How am I going to raise 2 daughters, grow a successful business that I knew absolutely nothing about, take care of our home, build my self-confidence because I felt I was worthless, and get back into dating at some point. And how was that even going to happen? Remember, I went from living at home to being married, so I had never been out in the dating scene. And people don't just come knock on your doors. I was ready, and where are they? You know, it's hard. So let's talk a little bit about the business. As I said, you had to start by acquiring licenses. So in the middle of the divorce, I had to study and pass the federal securities and the state exams. And what was most important to me, especially in the financial services industry, is ethics. And with any business, ethics is number 1. I'm a firm believer, if you do the right thing, the money will come. And when you go to bed at night, you've got to be able to close your eyes and feel good about the person that you were and how you treated others. And if you can't do that, then you're in the wrong business. Or you're the wrong person. Marketing and public relations and building a client base. So, okay, so I've got my licenses, I'm ready to set up an office. I set up my office, nobody's knocking on the door. Where am I going to get my clients from? I don't have any money for marketing. Well, one of the things I decided was, especially in financial services, when you first get a client, it's probably 2 months before you actually see a paycheck. Because you have to gather all the data, you have to evaluate everything, you have to give them recommendations, you have to explain everything to the client, and it's about 2 months later that you actually see a paycheck. So I realized that if I'm worrying about where my paycheck is next week or the week after, I'm way off base. I need to be thinking about who's my client 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and I better have all my bookings already booked up to that point, because if I don't, we don't eat for 3 months, because it'll take that long to get my first paycheck when I see someone. So with that in mind, I realized getting in front of one person at a time wasn't going to work. I had to get in front of a lot of people quickly so I could get a lot of clients quickly. So I started teaching. And what I did was, the local high schools had adult education, most local high schools do. And when I saw their flyer on the classes they taught, I would contact the school and say, you don't have a class on retirement, investments, college planning, debt, budgeting, whatever I could think of, and I would call them and say, I would like to teach a class. The one rule I had was, I would only teach for however many weeks there were people in the class. So I wasn't going to teach a 10-week class to 3 people. Because I figured if they were in my office, they'd be there for an hour. And if it was a 1-hour class and there were 10 people, I'd do 10 weeks, but I wasn't doing more than that. So I controlled it. And what was interesting, some of the schools didn't get enough people to have the class, and I loved it because I got all the free advertising. And I didn't have to teach anything. And it was just really great because they advertised it all over. It was in the newspapers, it was in flyers, it was sent everywhere. And after a short while, everybody knew who I was. Even today, I sold a business 12 years ago. People say, aren't you so-and-so? And they all remember who I was. The other thing was learning how to have good public relations and get yourself out there. I would say I was in the newspaper, on television, or on radio on average once a month for over 20 years, and it cost me nothing. How I started with that was, I started when in the beginning I drove to clients because I was afraid to ask them to come to my office. And when I was driving, I would listen to every radio station I could think of to find ones that had a talk show. Then I'd pull over, I'd write down the name of the show, the name of the station, the time, what the show was about, and then when I got to my office, I would call and say, I can be a speaker on your show. They're always looking for speakers. So I ended up being a speaker on television, on radio. I wrote articles for newspapers. One quick tip I'll give you, have you heard of HARO, H-A-R-O? Look it up on the internet. I do this even today. HARO stands for Help a Reporter Out. I get about 100 requests a day from reporters all over the country that are writing articles about all different things, and I get to pick what genre I'm looking for. Are they looking for someone to write on business or on health or on whatever? And when you get these requests, you respond to the ones that are good for you. It doesn't cost you anything. You're not guaranteed to get in. But I've been in USA Today. I've been in Money Magazine. I wasn't in. My article was in Playboy magazine. My husband says, I am remarried. He says, tells all his friends, I'm going to tell my friends you were in Playboy magazine. I said, no, tell them your wife's article was in Playboy magazine. And actually it was on death and dying, which was interesting. But free of charge, you get to be out in public and you get to take all of that. So what you've got to do is, I always had one rule in my office, I only touch things once. If you're going to do something, you've got to find multiple ways to make that one thing be worth your time. So let's talk about you starting your own business. First of all, what is the definition of an entrepreneur? Here's what Merriam-Webster dictionary says the definition is. It's one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise. The characteristics of what makes a good entrepreneur is a person who starts a business and is willing to risk loss in order to make money. A go-getter, someone who's farsighted and innovative. When I started my business, I was offered a job just before I started it that was a higher pay than I had ever had in my life, and it was salary, and I turned it down to start my business. And my mother and everybody else said, who do you think you are? You've got kids to support. You're being selfish. You could have had this salaried job with money on the table every day, and you're going to turn it down? I said, yes. I'm 31 years old. They were hiring me at the top of the ladder. There was no place to go after that. I don't want to be stagnant for the rest of my life at 31 years old. I'd rather start at the bottom and have a place to grow and get bigger and better. I don't want to be stagnant at that age. That was a big risk, because if I didn't do well, my kids would eat. So you've got, as an entrepreneur, you've got to be willing to step out and do things that are uncomfortable because you know they're going to make you successful. So why are you even considering starting your own business? Is it flexibility? And what I mean by that, flexibility with your time. That was one of the reasons I started a business, although I didn't realize at the time that when you're self-employed, it takes a lot more time than a 9-to-5 job. But I figured I could get my kids off to school in the morning, go to the office, be back at 2 when they got home from school, get them doing their homework, get them dinner, go back to the office, come back at home, do paperwork before I went to bed at night. I felt like I had more control over my time. Is it the amount of money you can make? Remember I just said I was offered a salaried position, higher pay than I'd ever had. Why didn't I take it? Because it wasn't enough. It wasn't where I wanted to be for the rest of my life. Is it what the lifestyle might afford you if you can make more money? Is it the challenge? That was one of the reasons I loved the profession that I chose, because I get bored very easily. And if I was doing the same thing over and over and over, I don't care if I'm making $1 million, I'm out of here. You know, I've got to feel like I'm growing. I got to feel like I'm making a difference. So what is it for you? Is it controlling your time? Or is it something else? So think about why you're starting your business, what it means to you. And then what kind of business are you looking to have? What industry are you looking to be in? Why did you choose that business? The one biggest issue I see in all the businesses that I coach, most people start a business because of a passion they have for something. For example, you open a restaurant because you love cooking. You didn't open the restaurant because you like to hire and manage and fire staff. You didn't open a restaurant because you love to manage the books and the money of the restaurant and figure out taxes and costs and supplies and all of that. That's not why you did it. You did it because you love to cook. And that's a problem. You have to be good at managing the business, but you don't have to be good at doing everything yourself. Everyone's always asked me, what's the one thing you would have done different? And the one thing I would have done different that would have made me more successful sooner was I would have hired someone sooner. There are not enough hours in the day for you to do everything yourself, and odds are you're not good at everything. Other people are going to be better at some things than you are, and you need to not wait till you can afford to hire someone. If you hire the right person, they'll more than pay for themselves. Also, you need to have a business plan, and there's all different kinds of business plans. So what systems are necessary to set up a business? When this is over, I'll be out at the table, and I brought 2 sample copies of a business plan. The type of business plan I'm talking about is a personal business plan, one that you use for yourself, and how you're going to manage your business, what your metrics are. You're going to have this amount of income by this time, and here's how you're going to get it. Here's what it costs you, everything that you need to know. There's a copy business plan out there that you can see, and these are some of the things that you're going to need to know how to do. Either you or hire someone that knows how to do them. The one most important thing that can make the difference between being successful in business and not is what makes you different or better than all your competition without putting anybody else down. Because if you say they don't do this and they don't, that just makes you look bad. So you don't put other people down, but what makes you stand out. So think of it this way. If your competition had the same product, same service, same knowledge, and same price, why should a client choose you? What makes you better? What makes you different? So in financial services, for me, what it was Pfizer had a large plant, a large office right in the same town where my office was. And a lot of Pfizer clients had stock options, and I knew very little about stock options, but the big people at Pfizer that made the big bucks all had a lot of stock options. So I thought if I could get really good at stock options, I could help the big people, and that's where I'm going to get all my business. So I went back to school and I got a designation specifically for stock options, and I was the only one in the state to have it. I got a $7 million client because of that. Because I stood out and I was different than all the other advisors they talked to who didn't know as much about stock options that I did. So find out what can make you different, what can make you better, how do you stand out? Do you provide a service that they can't get anywhere else? Do you provide a product they can't get anywhere else? Do you have a unique way of doing things or running your business that they can't get anywhere else? Or is it something else? Make sure you do your research before you jump into a business. Look at what your competition is. How close are they located to you? How do they charge comparison to what you're going to charge? What's their customer service plan? How are they servicing their customers, and how are you going to make your service better? What do you like about them and what do you not like about them? And what else do you need to know? Just talked about the business plan, and I think my time's almost up, so I'm going to go through this quickly. And like I said, there's copies of business plan out on the desk if you want to take a look at that. You need to figure out when you're going to hire your first employee, how you're going to manage those employees, what are the benchmarks so that you know you're successful. Every October, well, being self-employed, I never knew when I opened the envelope whether I was going to have a check or not and how big it would be. So I learned to not care from week to week what the money looked like, and I cared more in a 12-month period, where am I? Because sometimes they're going to be good and sometimes they're going to be bad. So every October I would look back at the last 12 months and figure, am I better off than I was the year before? And as long as I'm going in the right direction, I was good with that. Talked a little bit about the marketing, social media. I talked to you about Harrow. You want to look into that. That can be really helpful. And as I said, there is a sample business plan out there. Let me just wrap this up with taking some calculated risks, and I've got some of these pictures out there. You might want to see them. One of the problems I have is I think things don't bother me that should, and they just don't. I go to charity auctions a lot now. I am remarried. We've been together 38 years, so it's going really well. In fact, today's his birthday. He should be here, but he's not. And we go to charity auctions a lot. I love that the money all goes to charity and it gets us to step out and do things we wouldn't normally do. I had on my bucket list for 20 years that someday I will go on a safari in South Africa. We went to a charity auction. They had the South African safari at the charity auction. I bid on it, and my husband said, I don't want to go. It's too long of a flight. So I called my daughter in Florida. She was living in Florida at the time. I said, if I win this, you want to go with your mother on an African safari? And she said, of course I do. So she and her mother were on an African safari on her 40th birthday. That was my gift to her. And when we got there, we did some things that most people would think are absolutely bananas, but we loved it. When she laid down with him, I have a picture of him. He rolled over and I have a picture of him licking her arm. Before we left, my daughter said, you know, Mom, there's something on my bucket list that you can only do in South Africa. Would you do it with me? I said, you know me, I'll do anything. And if you sit home and worry about every little thing, you're going to be miserable, and you can't expect somebody else to bring you out of that. It's up to you. So what do you do now? First, if you want a copy of the business plan shell, there's a sign-up sheet out there. Just sign up with your email, and I'll email it to you, and you'll have an actual Word document of a business plan shell that you can edit for yourself for your own business. Decide on what business you want to build. Do your research, complete your business plan. For assistance in the USA, contact your local Chamber of Commerce for assistance, Small Business Administration. Out of the USA, conduct online and local research for assistance available to you depending on where you're coming from. And I've written now 3 books. They're all award-winning books. They're all out at the table. The first book is about how I did what I did, and how I raised the kids, and how I built the business, how I sold the business, and all of that. And then the second book, some of the businesses I've coached have been realtors, and there's a business plan in there, and there's a lot about marketing in there. So, and then the third book is for people over the age of 65. When I sold my practice, More than half of my clients, as I said, were over the age of 65, and then I looked after my mother every day for 12 years until she passed. And her last 4 years of care were $15,000 a month. And I learned how to do it so that when she passed, she had the same amount of money as when she became ill. So, and the last book is all about how to get your ducks in a row so you can maintain your independence as long as possible. With that, I thank you. Feel free to talk to me afterwards.
Impactful discussions, right? We learned a lot, especially the divorce part. Right? You want to be equipped no matter what. We don't know, life changes. So you want to have all the information you can have now before things, just crop up on you. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you very much. With that said, do we have any cats in the house? By cats, we mean the husbands who woke up early to show up on time and support their wives. How many cats do we have in the house? 4. I told you we're going to be giving away a lot of stuff. And while we're recognizing and appreciating our cats, I want to appreciate a sponsor. If you are taking notes, could you raise your hand? Everybody was, but someone made it happen. Sister Esther of EXSSSA, Georgia, she went out of her way to order this. I'm telling you, she spent a lot of money, and everybody gets one. Whether you get to PPDC or not, you get one. So Sister Esther, thank you very much. I would also like to appreciate our Dallas chapter members. Dallas in the house? Yeah! Dallas is different. They're exceptionally different. Did you see how they showed up this morning? All right. This is a case where I can proudly say Dallas does things bigly. Year, Dallas chapter, under the leadership of Sister Martha, were the first ones to register for the PPDC event. They didn't know what was coming, they trusted us, and they supported us. This year they did the same thing. As soon as we launched PPDC, Dallas was the first to say, hey, we're registering our members, so we thank you for that. We hope you keep up. We also hope that spirit overflows to other chapters, right? Because what we're doing is good, is it not? Yes. Okay, thank you. With that said, any parents in the house? Our own, very own Cigarette, very young, energetic. I cannot say what she's done to help present this event smooth sail and be successful to this point. Charlene is a hard worker. She's an exemplary petite sœur. I want you guys to applaud her, not because she's a Cigarette, but because she put in the work to be here. So over to Charlene.
Hi everybody. So for those of you who did not hear my introduction, I'm Charlene Assam, and I'm a current as well as a EXSSA alumni, and I'm part of the class of 2012. So I just want to thank Nancy for the amazing presentation. That was very good. So the one thing which I'm going to be focusing on today is, we've heard about being an entrepreneur, but one thing that we need to take into consideration is our minds, right? Because who we are, our values, our success, failures, everything, all our behaviors stem from your mind. So that's what my presentation is going to be focused on. One of the most important things we need to keep in mind is developing our minds of abundance. At a tender age, and coming from a third world country, we're always taught of the lack of, whereas of without, the lack, without, and not the abundance thereof. Our minds have been conditioned to think of scarcity before abundance. Our economy is driven by the laws of demand and supply, which focus on scarcity. We are automatically tuned to believe that we will never have enough. The scarcity mindset gives us a spirit of powerlessness. We don't believe we can ever have enough, and therefore we always have to work several jobs to make ends meet. What if I was to tell you that changing your mindset could change your money and could change your wealth potential? But if you were set, it will not completely solve all your issues, but it would definitely change stuff about your financial situation. In talking about the power of the mind, there's a strong correlation between wealth and our minds, because you can certainly make $1,000, but still live the rat race every day and still keep working 9 to 5. Now, the rat race refers to the endless self-defeating positioning of our financial situations. Our behaviors are influenced by our mind, which play a huge part in our finances. Because remember, it is one thing to be rich, and it's another thing to stay rich. Those are two very different concepts, which I think it's very important that we need to engrave into our minds. So I'm going to be talking about little things that we need to keep in mind as a result of changing, or if you want to change your financial situations. The first thing is exposing yourself to knowledgeable thinkers, and be mindful of the input that you put into your mind. Every community has a system which comprises of an input, a process, and an output. Similar to our minds, if you feed your mind positive thoughts and you meditate on positive outcomes, and you dwell on those thoughts, consequently you will live a more fruitful life. Surrounding yourself with the right people would provide you with the best knowledge possible. Some of us decide or want to be wealthy, but if I ask you who your closest 5 friends are, would you consider them wealthy? So think about that, right? Many of us want to change our financial situations. We want to have 6-figure businesses. We want to attain so much. But if I ask you, oh, your closest 5 friends, would you consider them wealthy? With that being said, I'm sure we've all heard the saying, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. If you desire to become a restaurant owner and none of your friends are doing well for themselves, how beneficial is that friendship to you? Your environment and ecosystem comprises of your input, as I mentioned. If you're constantly being fed with negative information, contrary to the financial position you're heading, it would definitely not go in your favor. The next thing I want you guys to consider, or for all of us to consider, is cultivate big picture thinking as it relates to wealth. One of my favorite quotes is by South African billionaire Vusi Thembekwayo, and he says, start small but think big. I repeat, start small but think big. Cultivate the I can be wealthy mentality as well. One of the most powerful tools which I found extremely helpful, especially towards my relationship with money, has been repeating wealth affirmations to myself. Affirmations are one of the most important tools of changing your mental situations in life. There is power in words, and I know we can all bear witness to that fact. Affirmations would help you believe and cause you to attain what you want in life. They help us strategize our mind and goals for where you want to go. One sentence which people always hear me say is, I'm allergic to poverty. As funny as that sounds, there is so much intentionality behind it. Because as much as I say it, and I keep repeating that statement, every financial decision, every single investment decision I've made for myself is backed by that statement, because I do not need to be poor. I can't. So repeated statements get imprinted in your life, and they affect your behaviors and your decisions. recently I have been thinking a lot about investment opportunities for myself. And with that being said, one of the most important things that we always need to consider in America is our credit score. So, and at the time, I needed my credit score to be at a certain amount for me to be able to indulge in this investment decision. So each morning I would dwell on it, and I'll repeat to myself, and this happened actually in March and April. I said, your credit score is going to go up. In all consciousness, my actions became tailored to my goal, and I was able to attain what I needed to. I was extremely conscious of making timely payments, and I never, ever, ever paid a bill late. Point here is, when your thoughts are in alignment with wealth, your behaviors end up being correlated to them. I once heard a saying, the sky is big enough, and I think Nancy reiterated on this as well. With that being said, the sky is really big enough for all of us to be wealthy. I've always told myself that if other people are wealthy, there's definitely one day that I'm going to be. As a practical means, if you're someone who is much more of a writer, I think in terms of affirmations, it's very important that you keep writing these statements as many times as possible. Now, as a final thought, I want to leave you with this piece of information which has seriously changed my life and my relationship with money. I challenge you to think outside of the box. Do not be afraid of having money conversations, especially with your children and with the younger generation. I think we're at a point in our lives where everybody needs to really consider this, because there's one thing to be rich and there's one thing to be wealthy. Rich is having a 9-to-5 job and just, paying your bills. Wealthy is making your money work for you. Yes. So without further ado, I just want us to remember this, because in life we are all responsible for our decisions, but only successful people would admit it. Thank you.
I'm going to use a few minutes to recognize a few people. Is Fiona in the hall? They probably wonder why I'm calling their names. It's not for punishment. Fiona, Thelma, and Kenya. Could you guys stand up? Could you ladies stand up? So these are not cigarettes. They are not carrots. They're just interested young girls who think PPDC has a lot to offer, and they sign up to apply. For that reason, we want to thank you, and we're going to give you something. So whenever you go home, whatever the gift turns out to be, you will remember PPDC. Thank you.
Good morning again, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, cigarettes. Good morning. Awesome. So, this morning, I certainly want to again acknowledge every single one of you who's in here. You have a desire to learn, you have a desire to change where you are currently, right? We all have that little nudge in us, which tells us that we want to be an entrepreneur someday, right? The question is, what do I do? How do I start? There's that Mami who says, I only have what I sold for my country jama behind my house, right? And is it enough to get me started? In other words, I only have enough which I made from the sales in my garden behind my home. And do I have enough to get started? Do I need $1 million to get started? Do I need $100,000 to get started? Do I need $50,000 to get started? Do I need $1,000 to get started? The reason I say this is because if that question is in your mind today, you are in the right place. Now, I'm going to be calling on a young gentleman to come in and talk to us a little about, if you were in that position, what do you do? Do not be fooled by him. I got exposed to him 18 years ago. 18 years ago, he was playing around with cash, making lots of money and spending lots of money. And then he got exposed to what to do with money to make money work for you, right? And that's one of the things we have, all of us, those who have gone to accounting school, go collect your tuition back, because one thing they never told you or they never taught you in school is how to make money work for you, correct? A lot of us have degrees and we have never gotten to know how to use money. Money does not come with a how-to instruction behind it, right? And so for that reason, we make the money very fast and burn it very fast, right? But then there is a new wave in the US, a new wave in the world, which is, what do you do to make that money hang on to you, right? What do you do to make sure that even when you go to sleep at night, that money is still working for you? So this gentleman I got exposed to, he was a junkie in the real estate world, flipped houses, became #1 in the DMV area. That's a big title to carry for those of us at Tiesta. Those of us who are real estate, the realtors in the house, you know that for you to carry the title in a company as #1 in the DMV area, that's Maryland, DC, Virginia, right? Nation's capital. And for you to carry #1 in house sales, you're doing something pretty phenomenal, right? 500 houses in 3 years. Pretty impressive, pretty impressive. But then in addition to that, went into low market just before the crash, and then decided to learn how to invest and teach others how to invest, right? And so that's one of the things we're going to be learning today. We're going to learn, what do you do? What do you do? So in a couple of seconds, I'm just going to call him up. Please pull out those notebooks, hold on to them. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with a very loud applause, help me welcome Mr. Edwin Gomez.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I feel an honor to be here among you guys. I want to give thanks to God first, because He made this meeting possible, and this information is going to be shared, very powerful. I want to give thank God because of, He's keeping us alive, and then He's keeping us blessed, right? Yes. And also want to give thanks to the people that put this together, because of I have done a lot of speeches, not about my life, but about my business. This is the first one that actually involved my life. So today we're making history. And it's not easy to put an event together. It's not easy to be in the front. It's not easy to speak. So I want to give thanks to the people that put this together. And I want to give thanks to the people that make it, that made it to the event. So I don't know if anybody read whatever was on the biography, on the bio. I was just like many of you, I came to this I was born in the United States, but I feel like I'm immigrant from outside because I was not raised in the United States, I was raised in Ecuador. So I feel like Ecuador is back home. So when we come here to this country, we look for many opportunities, but we are all good people, right? And as a good people, we want to help others. But there's not so much money that you can make to help others, correct? So I was in a battle with my life because I wanted to make a lot of money, and I did, but I wanted to help others. I see people back home struggling. I see me having fun, and I see my best friend fighting to buy food, And then I send him $100, and then the $100 disappears fast. And then I cannot send him $1,000 because if I send $1,000, it will disappear. And I don't have that much money I'm talking when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, battling, trying to help people. And then sometimes people are really kind of like, not trained enough, so that takes time and effort. And even if you're the best good person I ever met in my life, it's hard to do it for free. Because it takes time and effort. And then if you try to help somebody how to think right, how to do the finances right, how to think as an entrepreneur, it sometimes takes time, you know? So I started kind of like trying to figure out what to do, and then I said I should make more money. And if I make more money, I can have a business that can help more people. But then my family grew. And you know kids are expensive, right? They are. They're very expensive. Even back home, right? But not only my own, like me, my wife, my kids, as a family grew, but my sisters grew. And my brothers, and a lot of people start asking for favors. So every time you make more money, more phone calls, right? So I was trying to figure out how to make a lot of money. So then I said, you know what? I started as a loan officer. I made $265,000 when I was 18, and I helped some people to jump in the mortgage industry because it was a big boom. 2003, 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 years. I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, making a lot of money at that point. I thought I was the king, right? Can you imagine making $20,000 a month and being 18, 19, 20? And then the market kind of like stopped, and it was coming down. And then, you know, when you live to a lifestyle and you get used to, if you are a true champion, you don't want to go down no more. As long as you keep it ethical, moral, and professional, you want to stay there or go above. You know, you don't want to go down. And then I had to get my real estate license because as a mortgage loan officer, I was W2. And then as a real estate agent, I was 1099, for those of you that understand. So I had more money on my pocket so I can continue to move on and figure out. And then I started flipping houses. And then I said, okay, I like it. I make $40,000 in one house, I make $100,000 in another house. One house I make $250,000. And I said, I got it. So I went back home, my true story. You know, that's how my movie. I went back home. And then I said, I'm going to stay 1 month here and I'm going to figure out if I can help somebody, at least kind of like guide them, you know. But these people wanted to party. So I said, you know what? If I can work back home, because you know, when you are really good at many things that you do, you are an entrepreneur, you can do your business in many places of the world, right? You just need a little capital and you need some clients, right? So I say, if I can work in Ecuador, I can show people it's possible. It's not only in America. Remember, I had $250,000 on my account that I flip a house, and I said, you know, even if it fails, you know, I still come back and I'm not going to spend $250,000 in 90 days. So, and I'm not going to stay there for more than 90 days. Long story short, there was not really something that filled me. So I went back home and lost kind of like $40,000 on the try. Went back home and I said there has to be something more. And then I started getting into other business, which was insurance and investments. And then I was making some money, but it was a long period, long-term, long process. And then, you know, I've been in the past 15 months, I've been to 9 countries. And in those 9 countries, everybody has something in common. Most people want to make money and don't want to do anything. Are we on the same page? Yes. Most people want to make money and they don't want to do anything. And then when I'm telling you about an opportunity that has changed people around the world, I'm telling you a true story. I was the first one who introduced this opportunity to the African community.
Yes, Coach, thank you.
I have people in my organization that I teach. It's just information. It's basic information. Information is power. Okay? So I have people in the African community, about 1,200 people in different places that I help, and they are changing their life. So what is Bitcoin? We're going to be here 2 hours, and then we don't have a definition of Bitcoin. A lot of people believe it. A lot of people don't believe it. It is totally fine. A lot of people believe in Facebook. Other people don't believe in Facebook. It is totally fine. I used to sell life insurance. A lot of people believe life insurance. A lot of people Don't, and it is fine. A lot of people believe in buying a house, other people don't. I'm just going to tell you the information, and then we can talk about details after I finish, okay? Bitcoin was created to solve a problem. You know Uber? Yes. Uber was not just another business. It was created to solve a problem. When I used to catch a taxi, I used to live in a place an hour away from DC, and I called to get a taxi. It used to take 40 minutes. And it charged double than what it charged today on Uber. Today, I can get maybe my neighbor. Amazon came here to solve a problem. So when you come here to solve a problem, you are a good problem solver, right? And business is based on supply and demand. And then if you solve people's problem, you have a high demand. If everybody gets sick and I have a pill, it will be a high demand, right? People are financially sick. People are. And then if people are not financially sick, they want more. So Bitcoin came here as an idea, and today it's a reality. It was here in 2009, today is 2019, and a lot of people still don't believe it. But there's a new wave of millionaires that are coming because of Bitcoin. That coin started at $0, and then it was 10 cents. Who knows how much Bitcoin is today?
10,600.
So 10,000, okay. Yes, it was up. Yes, it was down. But literally, if you had 10 cents and you put $100, and 10 years without knowledge, education, degree, or nothing but information, you have $10 million. Will you live with it? Will you be okay? Thank you so much. I wish I can tell you a lot more, but I'm so happy to be here, and the party just started. Okay, thank you so much.
The next person we want to recognize is Sister Mercy from Mom. Yes, you were the first here, so you're going to be getting a gift, and your husband got a gift as a cat. So the next category is, do we have anybody who graduated in 2019? It could be, you did? Yes, we have one person who graduated in 2019. Anyone else? Anyone else who graduated in 2019?
I encourage you to keep developing yourself.
Alright, so no more. Do we have anybody who is their first time coming to the convention? The convention?
Wait, are you registered with the chapter?
And are you registered? First time convention, registered with the chapter. Alright. Until we have
Lucy, could you come up here, please? And I'm going to let her just say a word, 30 seconds, and Tilly, you're going to come up and do the raffle. We want to allow you some time to network with the speakers, sign up for whatever you want to sign up for, and get to know them better. Yeah?
My dear sisters and aunties, mothers, bambas, I want to say thank you all for coming, and thank you, Lizzie, for your leadership. When this idea was brought to Lizzie, she approached me when we met at an event in Columbus, Ohio. I told her I would think about it. And during the process of thinking, I spoke to one of my greatest mentor, who was my sister. And she's like, that is a good idea, and this is what our community needs. And over the years, this is my first convention to partake with it ever since the birth of PPDC. Sorry. So I want to say thank you guys for believing in us, believing in the organization, and we really need your input. And after this, please keep all your ideas, all your feedback on what we could do to make this better for you and for us. Because this event and this community is made for us, and it's made by you. So let's call it our fugu, for you, by us. So let's look at the PPTC in that context. for you by us. So any ideas you have on how we can make this much better, let's keep working on it. You could either go through Lizzie or you could go through your chapters as well. So keep those together. Thank you all for coming. We really do appreciate it. And we are very, very happy with this turnout this year. And thank you all for the honor.
So, walking behind the scenes is obviously the trendsetters, but also led by the awesome Auntie Jackie Adams. PPDC must recognize her because we've had to borrow her address as our mailbox for all our stuff. So Auntie Jackie, we really appreciate you. Applause to her, please. And we're going to honor her as she gets to draw the winner. Auntie Jackie, if you can come up, please. So please, hold on to your tickets. Those of you who were here early on, you got a chance to get one. Those of you who stayed for a portion of it, got another one.
We didn't get it.
If I was you, you're the first in the hall. Okay. And we're going to get a couple to the two ladies who are first in the hall up here, please. That may be the person who won $1 million. Uh-oh. One more. Awesome. Okay. And the winner is
5, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3.
Festival in the room. Mr. Gomez, but then also he is going to be raffling an iPad to, among those of you who are going to be stopping by to talk to him a little and network, there's going to be a list. You're going to sign up and you're going to raffle an iPad.
Thank you very much. And as you proceed to the AGM, we hope you tell your friends what you just learned. Encourage them to come to the next PPDC event. Enjoy. We're also going to be sending out surveys and provide your feedback. Tell us what you'd like to learn next. Right? Thank you very much.
Uncertainties, she moved $2,000 to $200 million. That's amazing. She was able to give us a few tips on how she got there. She has books that she's written. I'm going to ask Nancy. Nancy, would you tell us how you got to come to our event to present?
How I came to the event to present was Mason had contacted me. She had seen on my website my background and felt that I was a really good fit for your organization and helping your women, giving them information to help empower them, especially women that want to start their own business or are in their own business, and how they can take it to the next level and be very successful.
And you did an awesome job doing that. A lot of women think, oh my God, I'm going to start my own business, right? What is your impression, knowing that this is an all-girls school, most of us were born and raised in in Africa, in Cameroon, the mentality is a little different, right? We come here, we don't have much education, we make too many mistakes, then we get old and we want to correct them. How did you feel when you were talking to us? What was your impression?
The impression I got from the audience were they were very informed, they were very good listeners, they want to absorb as much information as they can to try to utilize it. Everything you just said I think was spot on, and they just really want to absorb as much as they can to make a difference in your organization, bringing that information.
So thank you very much. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Lizzie Bronte. I am the co-chair of the PPDC, which is a Personal and Professional Development Committee of EXSSA USA. This is an EXSSA USA sponsored event. I'm going to ask a few questions to Charlene, who's also the youngest PPDC member and a PPDC committee member and a presenter for today as well. I would like for her to share her views, what she's learned so far joining the committee, and what she thinks other people can benefit from either attending or being a part of the committee. So Charlene, can you just briefly explain what PPDC is all about in your opinion and what you think people should understand and do in order to support this yearly events and maybe in the future quarterly or however we put it, but your opinion really counts in this moment.
Yeah, so PPDC actually stands for the Personal and Professional Development Committee, which is sponsored by EXSSA USA. So this committee is really catered towards us as professional women who, and also just open to the public depending on what city we host the convention in. So we kind of want to create a space where we are all able to benefit professionally, because we all work very hard, we're all professionals, we all do a lot for ourselves, but it wouldn't hurt to be able to make new connections, to network with people, and to leverage people around us, leverage our resources to be able to increase and to be able to motivate ourselves as professionals. So it's one of those things that if you think about the benefit for yourself, you're definitely going to be able to come and support. We're trying to encourage everybody, whether you're young, old, we're all trying to do better for ourselves, trying to get much more professional. So we encourage everybody to really come and attend. Like every year that we have the event, which this is the second year that we're actually hosting it, and we can say that it was more successful than the first year, and we're hoping that the success continues in the future.
Thank you very much, Charlene. And we hope you're going to continue doing the good job. We appreciate your service and we're proud to have you as a PPDC member. I'm going to call on our attendees, right? Just so everybody knows, we gave away lots of prizes, lots of good stuff.
Yes.
And I'm going to call some of our attendees to share with us how they felt and maybe promise to always attend all PPDC events. So,
first of all, I'll start. My name is Arata Obuno. I'm graduating class of 2018. I thought this event was very educating, very knowledgeable, and as someone who is young, learning about finance at a very young age is very important, and it just builds your perspective on life. The future, yeah. And you know, I thought the turnout was really good. I wish it was more of a question and answer kind of, because I felt like people had a lot of questions. There won't be enough time for everybody to ask. So maybe later in the future there should be more question and answer. But apart from that, everything was pretty good.
My name is Eklam, an ex-Sikaret. I thought it was an amazing event. Actually, honestly, it's the only reason why I decided to come, because of the event. My aunt had initially told me, Auntie Esther told me about the event, I think last year when they started.
Yes.
Yeah, she told me about the event and I was like, wow, that's actually a good idea. I would attend. I think it was a good opportunity to network, talk to other people who have been there or who are in positions that you want to be in. And also we had 3 amazing speakers that we had an opportunity to ask them questions or just listen to their stories. I just thought it was interesting. So I will definitely come next year.
Yep. So thank you very much to our youngest Sekarets. We thank you for committing to the PPDC. We hope that you will bring more young Sekarets because there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to benefit from here. We hope that you will provide answers to the survey questions we send you. We want to know what you would like for us to do better. We want to know what topics you would like addressed, if it's an activity, however you want it, and even at the chapter level. If the presidents feel the need to use the PPDC to incorporate some activities within their chapters, by all means do so. That's why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you.